This is John for Global Traveler. Today I'm talking travel with Hofstra baseball coach and former Major League player, Frank Catalanotto. How are you, coach?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Got a lot of questions. Going to talk to you about baseball and travel and Hofstra, of course. You played 14 years in the major leagues. Obviously, you were a great young player. When did you realize that you had potential to play in the majors?
Well, it wasn't until after I was drafted and I was probably in double A Jacksonville. Um, I always knew I was a good baseball player growing up as a kid. And even when I got drafted, although, it was out of high school and I was playing professional baseball, I don't know if I really had the belief yet that I could get to the major leagues. And I worked hard during my time in the major leagues. And then when I got to double A, um, I struggled my first year in double A. I was only, I think, 20 years old and then or 21 years old. And then I went back to and repeated the level. And I made some adjustments, put together a really good season. And I knew the following year I'd be in triple A. And I also knew that, I made myself a prospect. And now if there is an injury at the major league level, I had a chance to get called up. So it wasn't until I was about 22 years old and in double A.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember your first hit and do you remember your first home run?
I do. I remember my first hit was at Tiger Stadium against Rick Helling of the Texas Rangers. My dad was in the stands. It was my first start at second base in the major league, so I was excited about that. And then my first home run was in 1998. I got called up in 1997, got my first hit then, and then in 1998, early in the season, I hit a home run in Anaheim against Ken Hill. So two things that I'll never forget.
Now, was the home run, was that as a pinch hitter or I know you pinch hit in the game. So was that as a pinch hitter or was that another at bat?
I believe that was as a pinch hitter. Yep.
How exciting was that?
Oh, it was such a great thrill. When you're a kid, you dream of these moments. So when you get your first hit or your first home run, it's really exciting. Like I said, it was a time that I'll never forget.
And how did you feel when you saw your first baseball card? I'm not sure if you collected baseball cards as a kid, but how did you feel when you saw your first one?
So I was a huge baseball card collector as a kid, and I still collect cards now till this day. So that was one of the coolest things for me because, being a collector and, organizing the cards and making sure I had my favorite players and all the Yankees. Now to have a card of my own was great. So, whenever the cards would come out, myself or my dad would make sure that, we would go and purchase as many as possible. So I've got plenty of them at the house.
You probably had to sign a bunch for all your friends and everybody in the neighborhood too, I suppose.
Exactly. Yep.
So I have to ask you too about one more game. You set a Blue Jays record. You went 6 for 6 against my Chicago White Sox. On days like that, do you know you're like just in the zone, or is it just kind of that happens on occasion?
Yeah, no, you're in the zone. I remember taking batting practice and I felt good in batting practice. But then after my first at bat, I remember seeing the ball so good. The ball looked like a beach ball. It was coming in slow. And, those days are rare because obviously, playing at the major league level and hitting at the major league level is difficult. But for some reason, everything just came together and I just knew that I was going to hit the ball hard every time, every at bat. And, it's nice to have those days. Those are days that you wish you had more of.
Well, you played 14 years, so you had a very nice career. You played with Detroit, Texas, Toronto, Milwaukee, the Mets. During that time, was it all a blur at some point? Did it go by that quickly, or were you able at some point to kind of soak it all in and really enjoy the ride?
I did my best to soak it in and enjoy the ride. But once you retire and you're out of the game for a little while, you say to yourself, "Wow, that did go quick." You think 14 years, and you think, that's not quick at all, but it did. It went quick, but I'm happy that, that I have these memories, and I took a lot of pictures during my time in the major leagues, and I still keep in touch with a lot of, my former teammates. But yeah, it's something that you've got to savor the moment and cherish your time while you're there. Otherwise, it does go too quick.
And you wrote a book. So did that help kind of recall a lot of the memories? Was that a good time, a good process to do that?
Absolutely. I mean, when I was, writing the book and kind of writing things down and thinking of what I was going to write, it just opened up my memory bank, and it was awesome to be able to be like, oh yeah, even though that was 15, 20 years ago, I remember that. And there were a lot of things that came to my mind. So, and it's good to have it in the book now, because every now and then I can go back and read it, and just, it reminds me of those times.
It's an excellent book, by the way. It's on my bookshelf. I was a fan of yours throughout your career, so I have read the book. Great book, got to tell you that.
Thank you.
When you transitioned into coaching, what was the toughest part for you?
It was the tough part for me with coaching is, I was, as a player, I was able to make adjustments. If a coach told me to do something, I made an adjustment, and that was it. It seems like with coaching for me, I struggled. Hey, I would get frustrated. I'm not a very patient guy. So if somebody didn't get it after I told them a few times, it would frustrate me. And I had to realize that, hey, everyone's going to learn at their own pace. Just because I had an easier time with making adjustments doesn't mean that everyone does. So I've become a lot more patient now. And, I realized that, it might not be the kid not wanting to listen to me. It might be that it's tough for him to make those adjustments. So that was the biggest thing for me.
And is it tough sometimes balancing? Obviously, you want to win. If the university wants you to win, the team wants to win. Is it tough sometimes balancing that with giving every kid a chance to play?
It is, unfortunately at the college level, you can't just either play your favorites, or just because, everyone can't just play. Obviously I have a job to do. If I don't win baseball games, I'll be fired. And it's tough because, you work a lot with these kids and you want to get everyone in the game, but there are a lot of times that, you got to play your best nine, and, not everyone plays. It's not high school anymore. So yeah, I wish it was easier in that regard, but unfortunately, we have a job to do.
Now, you grew up around the area right around Hofstra.
Yep.
How is that then coaching at that level in your basic area?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm happy, living on Long Island, and coming from where I came from. I learned a lot about the game. It's a good area for baseball, and I'm happy to be able to give back to the local youth here, and to basically, to be so close to home, to be able to commute. Obviously, if I was at a school in a different state, I would have to move, or even in the major leagues, you're on the road a lot. Here, I'm able to sleep in my own bed, be around my wife and kids, and Long Island is a place that I love, so I'm happy to be able to coach so close to home.
And whether now or during your playing career, when you were on the road, did you have much of a chance to experience, different restaurants and all that, or is it mostly like the team would organize it and you kind of went along with what was presented?
Yeah, I did. I was able to experience the cities that we were in, and the restaurants. Um, there were times when it was, team dinners and stuff like that, but most of the time it was, you get off the plane, and you and a couple of the guys, two, three, four guys, go out together and eat. So that was one of the good things about being in the major leagues, is experiencing so many different places, and being able to see the country, and enjoy the different cultures and restaurants and things that they had.
So not asking you for your favorite team, but what would be some of your favorite places that you visited while you were playing?
So for me, in the United States, I liked going to Chicago. I thought Chicago was a great city. Boston was great for me. Even San Francisco, we stayed at some nice places in San Francisco with and there are nice restaurants locally. And what else? I always like going to Seattle. And then the game of baseball has afforded me the opportunities to play in places like Puerto Rico. I know we played when I was with, I think it was the Rangers. We played a couple of games in Puerto Rico, which was awesome. And then being with in the World Baseball Classic with Team Italy, we were able to go to a bunch of different places. I'm trying to think. We were in Mexico, obviously in Italy, Germany, a whole bunch of different places. So the game of baseball has helped me to see not only this country but the rest of the world.
And did you keep like a little book about your favorite restaurants? So, okay, I'm going to Seattle, so I know I could hit this place and this place. Or did you kind of just wing it every time you went out?
Yeah, so that's a great idea, and I wish that I did that. But we would kind of wing it every time out. And in certain cities, there would be restaurants that we liked that we would always frequent. But for the most part, we would either wing it or, like for instance, when I went to when I was in Texas and Alex Rodriguez got traded or signed with the Rangers, whenever we'd go to Seattle, Alex would say, "Hey, I know the places." Obviously he started with Seattle, so we would go with him, and that seemed to happen a lot. Whenever we would go into cities, there would be guys that played for that team previously, and they would take us to some of their favorite spots.
And now that you're coaching again, like, do you get to pick the places that your team is going to? Not obviously the schedule's there, but do you get to pick the restaurants, or is somebody else doing that?
Yeah, myself and my assistant coaches will pick the restaurants. Obviously they're not high end restaurants. We have a budget here, and but we'll be the ones in the different cities that we go to. We'll be the ones that pick the restaurants.
So, like I said, you played for 5 different major league teams. You played 14 years. You've done hundreds of road trips. So, what would be a Frank Catalanotto travel tip?
Oh gosh, a Frank Catalanotto travel tip. Let me see. For me, um, I would say I'm very prepared and very. I don't like to get caught off guard as far as are we going to a nice place or not? Do I need? So every time I would pack, I would make sure that I had some nice clothes, some casual clothes for different things. So if somebody said, "Hey, we're going to this high-end restaurant," that I didn't get caught off guard. So I am an overpacker, but I think it has helped me out in the past because I've had different options and different choices to be able to go to different places.
And is there any bucket list place where you haven't been?
Um, hmm. I don't think I would say there's a bucket list place. I mean, um, this doesn't include baseball. One of my favorite places to be, baseball didn't bring me there, but Hawaii. We've been to Hawaii once, and we keep saying we want to go back there. That's a place that I'd like to go. But I don't know if there's a place that I haven't been that's on the bucket list.
Okay. I know you do work with the vascular birthmark. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my oldest daughter, who's 24 years old, when she was born with a vascular birthmark on her nose. And the local doctors on Long Island were just like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. It'll go away. No problem." And obviously, as first time parents, my wife and I were a little concerned because it started getting more red and kind of it got bigger across her nose. And when I got traded to the Texas Rangers, somebody in the front office there who saw my daughter said, asked about it. We told her what it was, and then she told us that there was a lady that she knew from the Vascular Birthmark Foundation that would take a look at it. So sure enough, she took a look at it and she said, Frank, these can be treated. Your doctors at home were not right. So we then, she said to go see the doctor. We went and saw her doctor, and the doctor said they could perform a surgery on her. So my daughter had a couple of surgeries done and cleared everything up. And now you can't even tell that she ever had a birthmark on her nose. So we started a foundation, the Frank Catalanotto Foundation, to help support the Vascular Birthmark Foundation. We put on different events, golf outings and runs and stuff like that. And I just felt like it was nice of them to step in to help out. And I wanted to help support them since they helped myself, my wife, and my daughter out.
No, that's fantastic. And again, you guys have done great work. I've read about it. I encourage everyone else to check it out online. Going back to Hofstra before we wrap up, what do you do now? It's the season's over. What does your off season look like? I know it's not really an off season because you're always working. So what does it look like until the next season?
Well, right now we've been practicing since the first week in September. We practice, and for the NCAA allows us 45 days in the fall to practice as a team. So that'll go until about October 21st, I believe. After that, we will have individuals, what they call them. So it's 4 student athletes to 1 coach, where we can practice with them. We can't have team practices during that time. That'll happen until right about Thanksgiving, and then from there we'll be off until the mid-January. Mid-January, that's when we start up again, and life gets really busy then.
So what's the scouting report for next season?
So, I'm happy. We lost a lot of our seniors. I think 7 seniors that
Wow.
really were, real good players for us last year. But we got some good young players in and some transfers. I'm excited because we added a lot of speed on the team. I think we're going to steal a lot of bases. Our pitching got better. So I'm excited. It's a tough conference we're in the CAA. We play against a lot of Southern teams that are out on the field a lot earlier than us. But I'm confident that this team is going to be really good, and hopefully we can win the CAA like we did a couple of years ago.
Well, go Pride, right?
Yeah, go Pride.
So before I end this interview, and again, I appreciate your time, tell everybody where they can find out more information about whatever you want, Hofstra, the Vascular Birthmark Foundation, whatever you'd like to promote.
Yeah, the Vascular Birthmark Foundation. I mean, you could check out fcatalonotto.org. That's the Frank Catalanotto Foundation website. But yeah, you can Google, Hofstra baseball. You can Google Frank Catalanotto Foundation to learn more about that. But we're excited to get started here come next season.
Well, we'll be following you next season. We'll be cheering for you. And again, I appreciate your time. I was a big fan of yours throughout your career, and it was a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.